Hey guys, Hamster Wheel here with a new video, and today I want to talk with you guys about some underrated items in Classic WoW. Now when I mean underrated, I'm talking about items that aren't that well known and where people often don't realize just how useful they can be in certain situations.
Okay.
Things like the Skull of Impending Doom and Title Charm are items that I've seen in PvP and have been brought up so many times that those will not be talked about.
I thought Title Charm was a
No,
5
with
minute
the help
cooldown.
of the viewers, I found items that are fairly unknown.
So you know this is some kind of bullshit. Look at that. The full fucking, what is that, Avengers gear? With what, I'm pretty sure this sword is the sword that you're able to get from the Moral Adam quest in Duskwood.
Or are well known,
What
but
a
not a whole
terrible
lot of people
character.
see the potential of said item. So, without further ado, let's start off this list with the Mark of the Dragon Lord, recommended by Bob Plays.
This drops from Overlord Wormthalak in Lower Blackrock Spire.
Games. An item most people never paid
This
any
is actually
real
really good.
attention to, and an item that is going to wow a lot of people. So what this ring does is give you a shield that absorbs 500 damage. But,
Okay.
while that shield is active, you gain 22 mana every 5
This
seconds.
is fucking
and here's the
ridiculous.
kicker, for 30 minutes.
It's insane.
That's right. If you manage to take less than 500 damage in those 30 minutes, you will have that extra MP5
That's
bonus
fucking
for
massive,
its
dude.
entire duration. And 22 MP5 in vanilla is huge. That's the equivalent of 2 Mind Tap Talismans, a very popular combo for, let's say,
11. True.
Resto Shamans. The only problem with this item is that it drops off of Overlord Wyrmthalak
It's a
in Lower
1%
Blackrock
chance.
Spire, which isn't as popular a dungeon as, let's say, Upper Blackrock
Yeah,
Spire.
because nobody wants to fucking
And on top
do it.
of that, it has a very low drop chance. But should you be a healer or a class that relies
Right.
heavily on MP5, and should this item drop, you better try
It's
and
really
get it
good.
because the
Like if
shield
somebody
is
has
very
this, it's
powerful.
really, really good.
Next item I want to talk about is the Ravager that drops off of Herod in Scarlet Monastery Armory.
Oh
recommended by Promos.
boy!
Now, the
Here
Ravager
it
on
is.
paper doesn't seem like that great
This
of
is
an
the
item.
good part.
It has no stats, and the prop makes you
Okay.
blade storm while standing still in one place.
Yep.
So if you want to move, you have to manually cancel the effect.
God, I fucking love this ability.
However, some people have found some very unique purposes for this item, including Razia, who has shown that with the right playstyle, you can actually become a pretty decent AoE hunter with that axe.
Yeah,
Being able to farm mobs from lower level dungeons, and on top of that, every hit that the Ravager does has a chance to proc Wind Fury. So there is a way where you could be mowing down packs of mobs as a shaman while
What?
getting Wind Fury procs for days.
What
That's
the
why I consider
fuck?
this item to be very underrated.
Oh my
Up
god.
next is the Silent Fang, recommended by Bob.
Dude, Ravager, in my opinion, I think Ravager is going to be one of the best weapons that you can use for, like, AoE farming as a warrior. So, like, let's say you want to run your friends through dead mines. Bro, you just put on Ravager, and you do it. It's not even a big deal. And it's probably one of the coolest weapons in the entire game. Like, whoever thought of doing Ravager, like, that person needs to make more items in the current fucking game. I love that item. It is one of the coolest items in the fucking game.
Plays games. A blue sword that drops off of Dark Master Gandling in Skullomance with a 1.6 attack speed. On paper, not the greatest,
No.
but that chance on hit.
It's not.
Oh boy. A silence that lasts a whopping 6 seconds can make or break a fight if you're, let's say, a warrior or a rogue trying to bring down a caster. You'll still have to be lucky as it's only a chance on hit and not a
Just imagine having 2 of those. Nobody's doing shit.
use.
That's so
But
broken.
at the right moment, at the right time,
Yeah.
this can be an absolute deal breaker. And
That's
a very
insane.
nifty item for someone who wants an extra weapon in
Wait,
their arsenal.
manhandle? Oh, I didn't. I
That
forgot
and
all
the
about
fact that this is
manhandling
a
weapons.
weapon means you can
Shit.
swap it out during combat
No, you're
for
right.
some added flexibility.
Dude, that rogue is a
Then we
god.
move on
Holy
to the
shit.
Annihilator, recommended by Mike Bollman. Hope
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
pronouncing your name that correctly. An item crafted by a blacksmith.
That's fucking insane.
This is an item that I've barely ever seen on
Holy
private
shit.
servers, and it's a shame because this is probably one of the best main handlers to have for a tank that is currently off-tanking a boss.
Fuck
Being able to
yeah.
not just be a standby for the main tank, but as an added bonus, add 3 stacks of 200
That's
reduced
insane.
armor on the boss. Now, as we know, rogues and well-geared Fury Warriors can do a lot of damage,
I
and
know.
600 reduced armor
It's true.
on a boss can definitely give their DPS a bump and perhaps even make or break a fight. All that is possible with the Annihilator, and while the price for all the mats is admittedly quite steep, it is still an underrated item if you ask me.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Next item
That's
I want to talk
amazing.
about is the Crescent Staff, an item
What?
that you get from a quest called Leaders of the Fang. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Underrated? This? It's one of the most common blues you would get as a caster. Well, yeah.
Well, here's why it's better, even though it takes up a debuff slot. Is because, alright, imagine this. Imagine I'm a Fury Warrior. Now, my debuff slot could be taken up by a Warlock, Curse of Affliction, or some other stupid shit like that. Or another buff that helps me. Come on. Fuck them.
Yeah, you're right. For
Yeah,
a
it's a
caster.
staff.
However, this item is also great for warriors. Wait, what? But it has intellect and spirit. Well, yes, but let me explain.
It's really
you
good.
See, in the early stages
he's
of
right.
leveling a warrior on the Horde side, you
Yep.
don't exactly get any really good two-handed weapons.
Yep.
Sure, you can go to the auction house or hope for a really good random world drop,
Yep.
but what if you can't rely on either of those two situations? Well, then look no further, warriors. This is your go-to weapon in your late teens and early 20s. Because while the stats are kinda terrible,
The stats are
the
insane.
damage is really good.
We'll get those. We'll
Trust
get
me,
those
I've tried
damage.
this out on my own server, and even with crappy gear,
This
I was
is
able to mow
insane.
down mobs at a very respectable
It's
pace.
nothing.
I know that wearing a staff as a warrior is kinda weird, but things like sword or axe specialization are talents that come into play much later, when you're past level 30. So yeah, get this as a warrior if you're going to level up as a two-handed Fury
I got the
warrior or
Westfall
something.
staff.
You're
so,
gonna love
yeah.
it. Up next is the Green Whelp armor,
Oh,
also
we saw
recommended
this.
by Mike Bowman, and crafted by
Yeah,
a
this is
leatherworker.
really good.
This item is absolutely wonderful if you're leveling in a zone where there's a lot of PvP going on, like Stranglethorn Vale, because every melee
Okay.
attack has a 5% chance to put the target to sleep for 10 seconds. 10 seconds is enough for a melee to bandage up, or for a druid to heal up, gain distance, and root the enemy.
That is
so
really
this can
good.
be a deal breaker, and completely ruin an opener for, let's say, a rogue who's trying to gank you with cheap shot, then kidney
And it's
shot.
a 5%
If he gets
chance,
put to
right?
sleep, his combo is ruined, and you have a good chance to counter him. Also, it's not that
Like,
expensive
5%
to
is
create,
insane.
so when I'm leveling my Orc Hunter on Classic, you can rest assured knowing that I will have this ready to go
Oh,
if I'm
fuck,
going
yeah,
to a
it's
hotbed
insane.
for gankers. Up
That's
next
really
is the
good.
Warmonger, recommended by Metagoblin, and it's a world drop. So this item has a warrior/paladin feel to it. It's a sword with a 3.0 attack speed, which is not the best.
I don't know about
3
this,
strength
man.
and 3% hit, which makes this item great for hunters in early endgame. Wait, hunters? Oh yeah, despite this thing having that 3 strength on it, it's still an amazing item for hunters who are going to raid and need to stock up on extra hit chance. Because the 3% hit alone makes this item worth getting if you can get it off the auction house for a decent price.
Holy shit.
I know it might look a little weird, but I've seen hunter after hunter wear this as their very first raiding weapon, so to say, because there are very little weapons in the game that offer you this much extra hit chance.
That's a really
And
good
as we all
point.
know, hit chance is the
This
first
is a good
stat
point.
you should focus on if you're a DPS and want to start raiding.
Wow.
Next item I want to feature in this video is the Horned Viking helmet that drops off of Eric the Swift in Uldaman, and it was recommended by LiveBro.
I'm thinking about probably getting this. I'm not sure if I will or not, but I might. Charge an enemy, knock it silly for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's a
Wait, it's horde only.
level 40 plate item with agility and stamina, but more importantly, it does exactly the same thing that the Goblin Rocket Helmet does, though this has a 30-minute cooldown compared to the Rocket Helmet's 20 minutes.
Rocket helmet's better.
But still, a non-engineering item that makes the target incapacitated for 30 seconds?
Holy shit.
That's a dream item for anyone who's heavy on the PvP and has big enough balls to take on a 2v1, so it's another item definitely worth keeping in the back of your head
yeah, that's
should
really
you want
good.
to have some extra utility in your PvP
Wow.
activities.
What the fuck,
Up
man?
next is the Black Duskwood Staff, a staff with no caster stats and a chance on hit for melees. Yeah, this staff has always been an odd duckling, and because of those stats, no one really saw any value in it, and thus it always ended up on the auction house for next to no money.
Yeah?
However, as I've just explained with the Crescent Staff, wearing a staff as a melee DPS
Oh, no.
isn't necessarily a really bad thing,
Oh,
and the same
no.
goes for this item. Now this is a level 33 item, so any warrior should have their Whirlwind Axe by now, and have something like Axe or Sword
Who's not
specialization
gonna have it
depending on the item.
33? Who's gonna do that 33?
However, for enhancement shamans, This item isn't half bad. It has a
Oh
fast
my
attack
God.
speed and no real stats, but because you can pick these up for dirt cheap, and because the DPS is still not too shabby, you can actually do a fair amount of damage with this thing and use this for leveling and even some PvP. Sure, you might look a
think I'm
little
playing the
funny
wrong
as
class.
an enhancement shaman wearing a staff, but you'll have the last laugh when you mow someone down with a Wind Fury crit using
Holy
this
shit,
item.
man.
Now it's time to talk about the Phantom Blade, recommended by FishFood159.
Decreases the armor of the target by 100 for 20 seconds. Oh, this is like the dazzling longsword.
A very cool looking item, but also a very handy chance on hit, because it decreases the armor of the target by
What
100
the
for 20
fuck?
seconds, but more importantly, they cannot stealth or turn invisible during these 20
That's
seconds.
insane.
Which makes this a great counter weapon for when you're fighting a rogue who
Fuck
mid-fight
rogues.
wants to vanish and open up on you again.
Fuck them.
Because now they can't anymore.
That's smart.
That, and it has a decent 2.6 attack speed, and the damage itself is pretty good too. The only problem is that it's rather expensive to make, but despite that, I'd say it's still a
I
pretty
remember. Yeah, it
underrated
took
item
a ton of shit.
because
I
of
made
that
this in,
chance on hit.
Legion.
Time to talk about something a little different.
Okay.
The Crystal of Zin Malor, recommended by Moonsty. This item is part of an Alliance quest, and if you never handed that quest, you can have this item for as long as you'd please. So what does it do? Well, as you can see, it deals damage and drains 100 to
This
501
doesn't
mana
seem
every
useful.
seconds if you are not worthy. It also takes away health, so equipping this will make you kill yourself. But wait, how on earth is that useful?
To break
Well,
CC?
here's the thing. If you die by this item, and not by, let's say, a raid boss because your raid is wiping, you get no durability loss. And no durability loss means no repair bill,
Okay.
which in the end will save you lots of money if you have this with you for a raid. So that's why, in my humble opinion, this item is underrated. It's a great
That
way to
does a
kill
lot of
yourself without
damage,
suffering
man.
any durability loss.
Holy shit.
Next item is an item you don't wear,
That's
but
smart.
a separate usable item. The Clutch of Foresight, recommended by FishFood159. This item drops off of Maleki the Pallet in Stratholm. What this does is basically the same thing as a mage's counterspell. It counters the enemy spellcast, preventing any spell from that school of magic being cast for 10 seconds.
Can you... Is this reusable? So, like, you just have this and you can use it whenever you want? Or is it like, you use it once and it's gone? One charge. Okay. Fuck. Oh, and it's unique, so you can't farm them out.
That,
Oh
and it
my
also
God.
generates a high amount of threat.
Wow.
Unfortunately, when you use the item, it's gone, and you can only carry one at a time.
Okay.
But despite this, I'd still say it's a pretty sick item to hold on to if you're running Stratholm and this drops.
Yeah, it's insane.
Imagine being a mage, having this in your bag, finding another player that wants to kill you, and right after he thinks you used your counterspell, you pull this out and catch him by surprise with a double counterspell. That, and because it generates a high amount of threat, you could also hold on to this if you're a tank and looking for some extra threat on a particular
That's
target.
true. That's
All in
big
all,
true.
not a mind-blowing item, but something that can definitely throw people off if you use this in PvP.
That's a big true.
Up next is the Jagged Obsidian Shield, which on its own is a half-decent item, but that 3-second silence is definitely not something
Harmful
to
spell,
ignore.
fire
Elemental
sometimes.
Shamans are probably the ones that can benefit the most from this, as they always
Oh.
prefer to roll around with a main hand and a shield.
Oh,
And
yeah.
since they can decimate their opponent in just a few seconds with the amount of burst damage they can
Wow,
do,
what the fuck?
a small window of 3 seconds where the other target is
Yeah,
silenced
guys, I think I'm playing the wrong
could be
class.
enough to make or break a fight. Especially because a Chain Lightning
What
plus
the
Earthshock
fuck?
combo takes only 1.5 seconds to cast, and with a little luck can deal well over 2,000 damage.
God damn. This is crazy.
Next item I want to talk about is the Shatterer, recommended by AJ9 Lives.
Oh, yeah.
And is an item crafted by blacksmiths.
We were
It
actually
has a
looking
chance
at
on
this
hit
the
to
other day.
disarm the target for 10
This is
seconds.
insane.
10 seconds is a huge time window. So
like
let's
an
say you're
actual
battling
disarm.
a warrior with a big two-hander. He can now do next to no damage in a 10-second time window, which again,
I don't think this is really that useful because anybody that you're really PvPing against seriously is going to have a weapon chain on their weapon or some sort of way for them to not get disarmed. Like, this is a low-level meta weapon, but I can't see it happening at, like, high level a whole lot. Right? You have chain to anti-disarm? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I'm not really sure how useful this is really going to be.
can be a huge opportunity for you to turn the fight and come out victorious.
Right.
And because it's a weapon, you can once again swap this out during
Oh,
combat.
yeah, PvE.
So
Oh,
you
you're
can
right about
react
that.
instantly when getting charged by a warrior and try to turn the tide with this item.
So I want to say one thing. Like one thing I really like about Classic, like playing a warrior tank, is that I can use these different weapons to add different utility to my group. So like let's say I'm off tanking. If I'm off tanking, I can fucking I can swip on, swatch, and swip on. Wait. I can equip. I can equip Nightfall, and I can apply a debuff to the boss that makes them take more magic damage. Or I can use this axe. And I think all of the different ways that I can kind of use these special, unique items to like help the group, it makes me feel like I'm more of a, it like makes me feel like I'm more part of it, right? And I think that's so fucking badass. I like it a lot.
And then we get to the Windweaver staff, a staff with stamina, intellect, and arcane damage.
Not another one.
So on paper, this doesn't look like a great staff.
No.
Warlocks and priests don't rely on arcane damage, and mages don't use arcane missiles that often. So what's the purpose of the staff? Well, balance druids. If you're one of those druids that wants to actually try and level as a balance druid, here's your staff. This thing is amazing for its level, and with a few well-selected items means you can deal nasty Starfire crits at an early level and completely catch people by surprise. It is a random world drop, so you do have to hope that either you get it yourself or that it's on the auction house for a decent price.
Who levels this balance?
Then we have Mira's Song, recommended
actually.
by Bob Plays Games, which you can get through a quest chain that involves you going to Skullomance.
I was about to say,
what's
that's
so great
really
about this
good.
item? It doesn't have some weird chance on hit. The stats
It's a
aren't
fast
anything
sword.
to write home about. Why is this here?
It's a super fast sword.
Well, first off, this item is fairly unknown to the general classic public.
Okay.
Throughout my years and years of playing on retail vanilla and vanilla private servers, I've barely ever seen any rogue with this, and while I admit that there might be better offhanders out there, this one is still worth considering. First up, it's a sword, not a dagger, so if you're going combat sword spec, that means two weapons that can benefit from sword specialization.
Right.
Next, it has a pretty fast attack speed, great for applying poisons to the target.
True.
So, while this doesn't do anything super special, it's still a solid weapon that not a whole lot of people know of, which makes this item pretty underrated if you ask me.
God damn.
Next item is Serenity, recommended by Bob Plays Games.
That's so
yeah,
OP,
I know,
dude.
the guy was on fire with the recommendations.
Yeah, dude,
Anyway,
this Bob
this is
guy
another
knows how to
item
play the
with
game.
a pretty nifty chance on hit.
Holy
it dispels
shit.
a magic effect on the current foe. Now against some classes, this might not do a whole lot, like maybe take away a Druid's Mark of the Wild buff.
Yo, I should actually use this whenever I'm dueling these fucking priests, man. And like, whenever they just keep using these fucking shields over and over, I just put this hammer on them, and I just beat the fucking shields right off of them. It's amazing. No, think about that. That's actually so good.
However, it can be quite nasty against the Paladin who just pop their Blessing of Protection or Hand of Freedom, and then this item takes it away.
I don't know
It
about
is
that.
quite situational,
I think
but in a
priests are the only ones
situation
that are
like
useful.
that, it can really turn a 1v1 into your favor, and for that reason, I decided to put this on the list. Next item I want to talk about isn't really an item, it's a whole set, which is the Ironweave set, recommended
fuck
by
is this?
Gordon Tsang. Now at first glance, this set seems
The fuck is
terrible
this
for
shit?
casters. They have no spell damage, no spell hit, crit,
Okay.
or whatever. What they do have, however, is a lot of armor. On a Warlock with a simple scroll of protection and a Mark of the Wild buff, I managed to get somewhere around 35 to 40% damage reduction. You get 10% chance to resist silence and interrupt effects, which combined with Soul Link means you're probably going to be able to take a huge beating and completely throw off a warrior, as he's probably thinking, why the hell am I hitting this clothy for so little? This
Warrior's never gonna think that, okay? Because they do so much damage, you're just gonna die. Like, the Warrior's not gonna think, well, Warriors don't think about anything anyway. They're just gonna go in there and kill you. Right? It doesn't matter. And I don't know about that. I don't know how useful this is really going to be, because it feels like if you use this, you're losing your damage at the same time. Sack, Fear, and Bandage. You just Berserker Rage out of it and interrupt the fucking bandage. Like, trust me, like, once Warriors get up to 60, it's going to be over. Like, I literally, like, I'll do so much damage, they're just going to die.
doesn't make any sense. Of course, for this to
No,
really
we'll
have
see.
a huge effect, you're going to have to get
We'll
at
see.
least the majority of the set, which can take a lot of time. But
Yeah.
it's definitely something to keep in the back of your head when running dungeons, and in some situations can help you out a lot. Like fighting a rogue, thinking he can take away a huge chunk of your health with his initial stun lock. And because of that, I decided to throw this onto the list as well.
Oh, I hate that fucking thing, dude. It's so annoying.
Next item on this list is the Demon Slayer, another item that usually ends up on the auction house pretty cheap, mainly because it only has increased attack power against demons.
That's pretty good.
However,
99?
to a hunter, this item could be very useful for when you're fighting demons, or your guild goes out to, let's say, kill Lord Kazakh.
Oh my god,
I mean,
dude.
think about it. 99 extra attack power is more than some really good epics give, like Ashkandi. And
Wow.
considering how this is a level 52 blue item that isn't all that expensive to get, I'd say for the right situations this is a very nifty and underrated item.
What the fuck?
And the last item I want to talk about is the Wildthorn Mail, an item crafted by Blacksmith.
Nature damage?
Now, in my years of playing vanilla on
for
retail and my
shamans.
years of playing on vanilla private servers, I have barely ever seen someone craft this, let alone wear this. Mainly because it is admittedly rather expensive to make. But the stats are pretty insane for elemental shamans.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Is there any other chest out there that offers you that much spell damage at such an early level? Hell, even the Zandalar Shaman chest, the go-to chest for elemental shamans, which you get much later down the line,
Okay.
has the same amount of spell damage. I mean, sure, that's spell damage and this
Okay.
is nature damage, but since elemental shamans rely mostly on nature damage, that particular difference is pretty small. And the cool thing is, if you combine this with the Elven Spirit Claws, a leather BOE item that
Yeah,
usually
you
isn't
do
too
more
expensive
damage.
off
That's
the auction
crazy.
house, you will have a whopping 55 bonus nature damage from just 2 items that you could have before even reaching level 50. So, while this item is expensive to make, I'd say it's definitely still worth it, and because it's fairly unknown, I'd say that this is definitely an underrated item. And there you go, guys, 20 items that I feel are underrated in Classic WoW. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be back very soon, but until then, I'm Hamster
This
Wheel,
was a good
and
video.
Have a good one.
This was actually a very good video. I like this video a lot. I wish they did more like this. I love this kind of shit. I don't know what the hell that music is. That probably should change that. But yeah, anyway, I really liked, especially the first choices, like the staff and everything. Like, I don't know, things like this that are like really kind of outside of the meta, right? Like the Warmonger, you use this if you're a hunter because it helps you in that way. And like the Phantom Blade, like it makes you feel like you're kind of, I don't know, it just makes the game feel a lot bigger. I don't know, it just feels much bigger whenever that's the case. And so like I wish Blizzard would realize that and do more things like that, man. 3% hit, yeah, it's fucking insane. Differentiate classic when it was actually classic, and 14 it's a private service. Oh yeah, I mean everybody knows a lot more about the game now. That's definitely true. I don't know, it just makes the game feel a lot bigger than it used to be. I think that's really what makes it so cool. Like the magic effect on foe, like all of these different maces, and like especially as I said, like if I'm a warrior and I'm tanking, like let's say I'm like offhand tanking or off tanking, right? If I'm able to use something like I don't know, like that, or like the other axe, right? Like where's the axe that he was using? Annihilator, right? I'm applying Annihilator. That's 600 less armor the boss is going to have just because I'm fighting him. And I think that shit is so fucking badass. And it makes me feel like that's like the little way that I can change what I do in the raid to be more dynamic with what I'm actually trying to accomplish as a part of the raid, right? It's where I actually feel like I'm part of it. And I think that's really fucking cool. I love it. Oh, I know why the servers just went down. They just added the Field of Strife. Yeah, that's what it was. And they put 7 characters on there for me, too. That's great. Thank you very much. And yeah, 16 debuff slots. Well, 600 armor is... I think that 600 armor is pretty much worth a debuff slot. Probably more than like a Warlock's Dot or something like that. I mean, especially if you're running like a melee-heavy comp. I would assume so. Annihilator doesn't stack with Sunder. Oh, it doesn't stack with Sunder? Okay, then it's garbage. Okay, never mind. Yeah, then it's garbage. Let's see. This one, I do really like this one too. Yeah, it does. Okay, well, who cares? If it does stack with Sunder, then it's great. If it doesn't stack with Sunder, then it's not great. We'll look at the next game video here too.